Hello and welcome to a demonstration of CubMakr. CubMakr is a web-based tool and it's used to create and generate cub files, and we can also store them online. We have a registration tab. The reason we ask users to register is because we need to store the cub files online, and because of that we need an account to associate the cub files with. Upon registration there's a confirmation email which gets sent just to make sure that your email address is valid. Sometimes this goes to the junk mail folder or to the bulk mail folder, whatever your mail account has, and it's often cleared out and it's lost. So what people can do is, if they have registered before and not received the confirmation email, is just enter your email address into here and resend the confirmation email. The other tab we've got is to log in. So let's log in with our test account. Once we're logged in, we're presented with two tabs. The first tab is just to manage our clients' projects and cubs. So if you're offering MSI packaging as a service, you may have multiple clients, multiple projects. So this is just a way of keeping it all organized. As an example, we'll add a client, and for that client further down we will add a project, and for that project further down we will add a cub file. And we can see for every cub file at the bottom here, a table populates. So once we've got our cub file, we can edit some cub rules. So this is where we actually create our cub file and all of the validation checks. So we're going to select our cub file that we've just created. And the first thing that we're going to check is that the all users property is equal to 1. So we'll look in the property table. We will look in the property column and we will find where that column equals all users. We will ensure it's case sensitive because all users should be uppercase. We also want to match a second column because we want to find where all users is equal to 1, or we want to ensure that all users equals 1. So we'll look in the value column and we'll ensure that it's equal to 1. We don't need to worry about case sensitive here. We'll touch on resolved properties later on. If we scroll further down, we can see we've got explanation messages. Again, we'll touch that in the next example, and a warning type. Most times you'll use just a standard warning. There is the choice to use an error, an info or a failure message, but I tend to use warning, to be honest. And down here is a condition. This condition is just, it's a textual representation, a message. There's nothing clever, but we may just want all users set to 1 for Windows 7. It could be for anything else. It could be just for Windows XP. We'll just put that in as an example, and we can add that rule. And when we add the rule, we can see that at the bottom of the screen we're populating a table. It's just a set, it's a collection of the rules for this session in this cub file. The next example, that's the first rule. The next example, we're going to make sure that we've not got any hard-coded paths contained in our registry table. So we'll look in the registry table, we'll look in the value column, and we'll search for any entries that contain, you see we've got different comparison operators here that contain a colon and a backslash. We don't need to make this case sensitive, and we don't need to look in any other columns. But if a match is found, we want to flag it for modification, and we might want to put in an explanation message. Do not use hard-coded paths. We'll get rid of the condition for now, and that will do for that rule. Another example we're going to show is we may want to omit the inclusion of certain files in our MSI packages. So for this we need to look in the file table, and we want to look in the file name column and search for where that contains tnsnames.ora. Now TNS names is just a text file which contains database connections for some Oracle applications, but it's generally just managed by the client and we wouldn't include it in a package. Again, we're not interested if that's case sensitive or not. We don't want to resolve properties. We'll touch on that next. We don't even want to match a second column. That's all we want to do. Look in that column, look for a file called TNS names, and if it's there, we want to flag it for removal this time. And the explanation message is TNS names dot, there you go, I've done an example before. That explanation message will be fine. So we'll add that rule. We said earlier on that we can also use this, as well as using it for tables, we can use it for the summary information stream as well. So if we scroll down, we can find summary information. And in this example, we're going to ensure that the title in the summary information equals the product name property value. Now, to achieve this, we'll select title for the stream. We'll change this back to equals. And in here, we will write product name in square brackets to denote that this is a property. And this is where we will check resolve properties there. And what this will do is it will do a comparison, but it will make sure that title doesn't equal the string literal square bracket product name square bracket, but it will actually resolve the value of product name and ensure that the title of the summary information stream equals that. So we'll finish the search there. Again, we don't really need any explanation for this one, so we'll delete that and we'll add that rule. The final rule that we're going to show you is using regular expressions. Regular expressions are quite powerful, and we can use that to, detect the format of a string in whichever way you want. And in this example, we're just going to look at the product version property. So we will go back to the product property table. We'll look in the property column where it equals product version. But we want to look at the value of the product version, so we want to match a second column, the value column. So we change the column to value. We change the comparison type to regular expression. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the product version is of the form major.minor.build. So this is a regular expression for that. The website I tend to use is regexpal to test my regular expressions. So if I paste the regular expression up at the top there, we can see that 1.2.3 is a match. Nothing else is. So it's just enforcing the, how the product version, how the string is built up. If we click Add Rule, you'll notice that we get a message saying if you use regular expressions, you must provide an explanation for the user. And the reason is because most users don't understand what a regular expression is. So if you say to a user, oh, product version must conform to this regular expression up here, they probably won't have a Scooby-Doo what you're talking about. So we need to put an explanation message in here. Product version should be of the form major.minor.build. Great. We can add that rule. So what we've been doing now is we've been building up rules in the current session. Now we need to, in order to commit these to the database and save them to the back end, we obviously need to save the cub file. So that's saved now. We can log off, go home, log in and load it whenever we need to. We can also generate the cub file. So here I've just generated the cub. I'm going to save that. And I'm just going to drag that onto my desktop. And we'll do an example validation. We will browse for that cub file. We're just using Orca now. Get rid of info messages because we've not set any of our messages to be info messages. So. And this is what the validation has returned. So we can see the Windows XP in brackets. That was the condition that we set earlier on. And the issue here is that the all users property is 2. So we set that to 1. Second example, in the registry table, modify the entry where the value contains : So we can see we've detected a hard-coded path, and we can see at the end of that message our explanation. So we would change this to the Windows installer property. Look in the next example, it's found that our files contain TNS names. So what we should really be doing is dropping this out of the package. In the summary information stream, titles should contain a value which equals CubMakr. Now remember, we wanted to ensure that title was set to the product name value. So if we look at the product name value here, we can see that it's CubMakr. So we should go into our summary information stream and set the title to be CubMakr. Finally, it's found our regular expression. In the property table, there's an incorrect entry in column value where property equals product version. Product version should be of the form major.minor.build, and we can see here it's not. So we'll change that. We'll save and we'll revalidate. Thankfully, it now conforms. All of our validation messages are gone. I'll just show you a little bit more around the tool. We can edit rules at a later date. So for example, if I wanted to edit this rule, I can click on the pencil and it will load that rule back into all the drop-down lists, and I can maybe look for, a different file instead, whatever I may want to do. We can also change the ordering of the rules by clicking the up and the down arrows, and by pressing the X we can obviously delete the rules. If we wanted to clear all the rules, there's a button here to clear all the rules. Remember, if you save that, you'll lose all of the rules that you've created. There's also a reset form option here to reset your form so that you can start again. The reason we don't reset it after every rule addition is because sometimes it is helpful to keep those boxes populated if you're adding, many similar rules. One more feature that we can show: if we delete this cub file, there is a template cub that we provide to every single account, and this contains a lot of the template rules that we have. So in this example, we'll duplicate this template cub and we'll call it cub B, just so we can see the difference. We'll put that in client A and in project A. You can put it in whatever client and project you have at the time. So we've just duplicated our template cub. We'll load it up now, and we can see that it's given us a head start. So we've got all of these rules. So we can see that we ensure here that reboot is really suppressed and that IS-check for product updates is set. We actually search there to see if it's set to 1, make sure it's set to 0. You can see the various other ones. Other clever things we can do is look in the registry, see if any service entries are in the registry, and we say in these examples that really you should be using the service install and service control tables. That's what we say in our explanation. Further down we can also see a similar thing for environment variables. If you're setting them within the registry table, again we say that really you should be looking to use the environment table if at all possible. And that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of the tool. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask over at the blog. Thanks very much for watching.